For more on the situation in Los Angeles, let's get right to Representative Linda Sanchez. She represents the Whittier area where some of the protests are taking place. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Just give us an update on what the situation is like there right now.
Sure. Well, we heard that early this morning, ICE began staging at one of the city halls, and then they later went and conducted raids on a Home Depot where day laborers frequent. And folks are upset, and we're beginning to gather for protest near the site where the raid was held. People are very upset of the lack of due process that these immigrants are experiencing, and the constitutional violations of due process that they should be afforded. And so far, everything that we have indicates that whatever protests are happening have been very peaceful protests, and that there has been no violence and no property damage.
With today's lawsuit, the state now appears to be headed into a legal showdown with the president. Do you believe that the president overstepped his authority?
Absolutely. The president called up the National Guard over the objection of our governor. The National Guard can only be called in two specific instances. One is if we are being invaded by a foreign entity, and the other is if there is an insurrection against the United States government. Neither is the case here. So it's very performative what the president is doing. I think he is trying to provoke. He is sowing chaos and fear to try to bully people and to try to flex his authoritarian muscles.
You've been looking into the cases of the people ICE has taken into custody there. What have you found so far?
Yeah, we are trying to get information regarding who were the people that were picked up, to find out what their status is, because we find in many instances with these indiscriminate raids, they don't just pick up undocumented immigrants. Sometimes they pick up legal U.S. citizens, people who were born here, or people who are lawful green card holders. So we still don't have any information because, again, ICE rolls in. They don't follow the law. They don't give these immigrants due process. They don't allow them to call their family members. They don't allow them to call an immigration attorney. So it's really difficult to just get basic information about who is in custody. And members of Congress have been visiting detention centers, trying to gain access, which by law we are allowed to do. And we have been denied over and over again entry into the facilities where they are holding the people that they round up.
Border Czar Tom Homan says agents are simply enforcing immigration laws. Your response to that?
They are not following the law when they are, quote unquote, enforcing immigration law. They are violating the law and they are violating the Constitution. So it's particularly ironic that Trump calls the undocumented immigrants criminals when, in fact, ICE officers who are not following the law are basically kidnapping people off the streets and disappearing them. Every United States citizen should be just outraged at this lack of due process and lack of warrants, lack of judicial process. I mean, it's unlike anything I've seen in the United States.
What's your message tonight to the protesters?
We want the protests to remain peaceful. Obviously, Trump is looking for a showdown. He's trying to provoke. And if they engage in acts of violence or property damage, that is going to be all that he needs in order to declare martial law.
As you know, there are those in the Trump administration who say that the protests are not peaceful and have been violent. Your response to that?
There has been some property damage. Nobody has been killed. Nobody has been injured other than the protesters. We have reports that ICE are firing tear gas and flashbang grenades into crowds with little or no provocation. So they are absolutely trying to bait protesters into, counterattacks. And, I am asking everybody, we have sent out messages on social media. We have talked to our local electeds to please keep the protests peaceful. Anybody who is caught committing acts of violence or property damage should be prosecuted. But we don't see major unrest or insurrection.
Representative Linda Sanchez, we thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Appreciate the interest. Thank you.